Greetings and salutations, my darlings. I wanted to thank all of you who sent messages of support on the video about Colorado criminalizing poverty. Um, we got a couple of new followers, or I got a couple of new followers, which that just blows my mind that strangers would want to see me talk. Because I just mostly keep this channel for friends and family, and I have another channel for public, but this one's just because I'm really bad at communication and letting people know what's going on in my life. Um, but there were some comments that have stuck with me. Mostly those that were assigning blame, especially to the other group, the others. Um, Man, it's crazy to me that politics have pretty much devolved into red versus blue, whichever jersey you're wearing. I grew up with a lot of people who had the football team that they loved and the football team that they hated, and they enjoyed watching their team win as much as they enjoyed the other team losing. And man, that's a sad state of events. But people love a scapegoat. They really, really do. And they really love to think that blaming someone is solving the problem, and that blaming one thing is really fixing the problem. Blame has never fixed anything. Back in Jewish culture, back in the biblical times, they had the scapegoat. That's where that term comes from. And anybody who's been a family scapegoat knows that it's still around today. But the scapegoat was a symbol that took on all of the community's sins, and then they sent it off into the woods to die, and all their sins were gone, and nobody had to fix anything. How cool is that? You could just put it all on the goat and let the goat go, and problem solved. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with a lot of the same sins, so probably not. I am a big believer in focusing on the solution, not the problem. What you feed grows, what you starve dies. So once you've identified the problem, hopefully your focus switches to how do we solve the problem. And a lot of people really aren't capable of that. A lot of people want one thing, one person, one group to blame for everything. And that's kind of like baking a cake with one ingredient. It's not going to get you very far. There are a lot of factors that have affected Colorado specifically and caused this housing crisis. And it's not as simple as what color jersey are you wearing. First of all, we are a tourism economy, and tourism has been really good for Colorado. It has caused a lot of growth. A lot of people have moved in. People come to visit and like it and stay. And it brought a lot of remote workers. So for a long time, people didn't really want to move to Colorado because the job market was slim, and now you can bring your job with you. So you can move from a really expensive state to Colorado, and that really affected the housing prices. But the one thing I noticed that nobody called out, which is one of the biggest factors in what's happened to the rental crisis, is, online platforms like Airbnb and Zillow. Those have both destroyed the rental economies across the country. I know in Colorado resort areas right now, the average monthly rent is about $2,000 a month, while the average Airbnb is about $300 a night, which means you are going to make a lot more money having an Airbnb that is partly occupied than you are by having a family live in your home. And even better, they are there short term. They do less damage. And you have their credit card on file. So if they do damage under an Airbnb, you've got your money back. I mean, it is really good for the landlords. It just sucks for everybody else. I can't be paying $300 a night for a place. I can't even be paying $2,000 a month for a place. So I get why people would want to do Airbnb, but it has killed the rental housing market. And Zillow, I don't think a lot of people realize what Zillow has done. First of all, it has made it a lot easier for investors to find cheap properties and snap them up. So that keeps those cheaper houses off the market. Gentrification is a huge problem. People wait until houses get really cheap, then they buy up the whole neighborhood, then they fix it up, and all the rents go up. I know if you talk to anybody in the communities that were dying that went to unique measures to solve it, they will tell you that it really hurt the locals. Any of the gambling towns in Colorado will tell you that gambling seemed like a good idea. It brought in a lot of good jobs. It brought in a lot of tax dollars. But it also outpriced the elderly and the poor and ran them out of their own communities. And a lot of them voted for legalized gambling. So Zillow also is well known by almost 2% for inflating values of homes by almost 2%. Then they charge the realtor 40% of their commission. So the realtors are padding it. Zillow's padding it. The realtors are padding it. You know, everybody's trying to get their pound of flesh, which leaves people who are low income completely out of the game. So, yeah, that really hurt things. And then Colorado was not known for having a lot of zoning. Even 10 years ago, people were a lot more able to do what they want. I know my hometown passed laws against home-based businesses, and that made it a lot easier for me to leave a town I loved because I've always had a home business. I had a store in the business, or in the home I was living in for a while. My family ran a store out of it. That's no longer allowed. Zoning makes it harder too. It reduces where you can live, it reduces where you can work, and makes Main Street rents go up, makes it harder to run a business, which is part of the reason I run a mobile business. And then we've also had, since COVID, we've had a lot of labor and construction shortages. It got really hard to get materials, and materials were expensive. So not a lot of new housing is being built, and what new housing is being built for the higher end market, not the lower end. So you've also got the institutional investors, like I mentioned with Zillow. After the housing crisis in the 2000s, early 2000s, a lot of those homes that were foreclosed on, corporations came in and bought them. A lot of apartment complexes were bought by corporations, and that has changed the entire rental market. I know that it is harder to get somebody in to fix things. It's harder to work things out. You know, when you had private landlords, you could say, hey, I am a little late on rent this month. I will catch up with private or with corporate landlords. They don't care. It's just changed the whole market. And so that's where scapegoating is a problem, is anybody who's saying, well, it's the people in the whatever Jersey. I don't want to discuss politics in that respect. I'm just really disappointed in the people who want to blame politics without looking at all these other factors. You know, at this point, corporate welfare is about 3 to 1 as far as dollars go to helping poor people, corporations get a heck of a lot more help, and they get subsidies and they get tax breaks. And it's really good to be a corporation in this country. It's a shame we can't all just become a corporation. We would have more rights. People want to make it a red versus blue, and it really is a rich versus poor. The people with the money are making the rules. People with the money are funding politicians that will further their agenda. And the politicians come and tell us, oh, I'm here for the working man. I'm here to help your life get better. But they never really do, because they're making laws that benefit corporations, not us. And if you go back to any problem, and conspiracy theories and all of that, I like to look at who profits from any law, who profits from any major moves. That's usually where you find your culprit. Who stands to make money from this law? So in the 80s, there were a lot of federal cuts. And this housing crisis goes way back. They cut money for low-income housing. They cut building low-income housing. They cut mental health services. And those have really put people out on the streets, where before the 80s, people had somewhere to go to get help. They had somewhere to go to get housing. Those places are not available now. And I know you used to be able to go sign up for the Section 8 housing. Right now, most places, their Section 8 housing lists are so full, they are not even taking names. And they are not planning on building a whole lot of new. I know they're building some new apartments here, but as far as I know, they're taken. Same thing when I was in Delta. I went and applied for an apartment in their new complex. They were already gone. So in the 80s, we had the federal cuts to programs that helped low-income people. And in the 90s and 2000s, all the way up to the housing crisis, investors and gentrification became a big problem for affordable housing. And in the housing crash, really had the investors salivating, because you could get an expensive house dirt cheap because a family just lost that house. And then they could fix it up, put a little bit of work into it, and inflate the price. And then the pandemic really changed the market. We had a lot of people facing job loss and evictions. They didn't have anywhere to go. We had more people turning to remote work, and the inflation went up and never came back down, and supply chains were disrupted. And all of those things factor in to this housing crisis cake. It took many ingredients to get there. And so simplifying it down to pointing at someone's jersey and saying it's their fault is really just a good way to say it's not my fault. And it's also a really good way to say, so I don't have to do anything about it. There's a lot more to it, to fixing it, than just voting. And one of the comments literally was, just vote for the right people and this will all go away. Well, that's not the case. I did look into who had made the decisions that have made homelessness so prevalent and being poor in Colorado so hard. And it was pretty well split. 4 Democrats and 6 Republicans have consistently voted against any homeless rights bills. And that seems to be pretty well across the board. They are there to make things better for the business owners, and the business owners are suffering greatly from the homeless influx. And they don't want people pooping on their sidewalks. They don't want people using their bathrooms. Meanwhile, they haven't given those people bathrooms, so they have nowhere to go. So I keep saying over and over, everybody needs a place to sleep. Everybody. Everybody needs a place to poop. Everybody needs a place to shower. Everybody needs a place to eat. And without those things, homelessness is going to continue to be a problem. And I don't care how many people, which I was really proud of all of you, none of you said, well, they should have thought about that before they became homeless. Or my other favorite, well, I work hard, therefore I have stuff and the other people don't. You know what? Cool. Good for you. That's still not going to solve the homelessness problem. Saying they should have thought things through, saying that they should live a different life, saying they should make better choices is still not going to stop people from having to poop on the streets. And taking away RV living is taking away one more way to keep people off the streets. And I hope that you point that out to your local legislators. I hope you point it out to whoever team jersey you wear, that we need more available RV living. If more people could park an RV in a safe place with septic, they could live more independently. They can keep themselves clean. They can keep their area clean. And I'm fine with laws saying you have to keep your area clean. That is fair. Don't junk it up. The actual term they used to evict us and everybody else in the valley in RVs was blight. We are blight. We are just trying to survive in an economy where people living on $1,000 a month trying to run a business cannot afford to rent a home or a business. And that doesn't mean I've given up. That means I am struggling against a lot of different things, but I am still trying to survive, live, and run a business. I have not given up, and I do work hard. When my disability does not have me down flat on my back, I am working. I am finding ways to make money. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Please don't feed the trolls in my comments. Anybody who comes in with their mind made up and wants to point fingers and run, they're not here to find solutions. So don't feed the trolls. I didn't. I would hope that the trolls would stop trying to find one person or group to blame and start focusing on the solutions. That's what we need right now, is what you feed grows, what you starve dies. If you've already identified who to blame for it, that's great. That's your opinion. Now do something about it. Now write letters, make phone calls, meet with people who can change it. If you don't want homeless people on your streets, help them find ways that those homeless people can have a safe place to sleep, to stay clean, and to eat. Because those needs are not going to go away. And again, thank you for all those supportive comments. Love you, appreciate you, and welcome to the new subscribers. I appreciate you wanting to listen to me rant. Poverty sucks. I don't want to be poor anymore. I am working hard to not be poor. But $2,000 a month rent? That's ridiculous. It's insane. And even $1,000 a month rent is insane. We need rents that we can afford, which is why I live in an RV, which is why I was staying with friends to get back on my feet. Hopefully, our move to New Mexico will change that. Hopefully, we are going to be in a better area for what we do. We'll be able to get more supplies, and there are a lot of benefits to where we're going. So, I hope it's better. But one way or the other, I love Colorado. And I love a lot of people who live in Colorado. And those people want to stay in Colorado. But in order to do that, we need more affordable housing. We need more RV parking solutions. We need more alternative living solutions. People are living in hotels. They are living in storage units. They're living in their cars. That's a problem. Especially when Colorado has a huge secondary home market. Second homes, third homes, fourth homes. A certain popular talk show host has multiple homes in Colorado. She has multiple homes in Telluride. that's not helping any of us. So, yeah, there are a lot of things we can do. But the main one is let's find solutions. And if you're just coming here to point out more problems, you're not part of the solution. Anyway, I love you. Take care of yourself and be good.